Number 10. President Lyndon B. Johnson's shower. When Lyndon B. Johnson moved into the White House, he ordered a special shower to be placed inside the White House. The White House plumber spent 5 years working on the shower, adding more and more nozzles and changing the water pressure to fit the president's needs. The president's needs? He wanted a shower that would give him pleasure while showering. Hence, the most important nozzles were aimed straight at his penis, Jumbo. Yes, he did name that himself. And his rear. The shower was later removed when Richard Nixon became president. He didn't want it. Number 9. The White House Zoo. Nowadays, we usually just see various races of dogs in the president's entourage at the White House, but that hasn't always been the case. From sheep roaming the White House garden to not one but 2 alligators having free reign of the house during President Hoover's time in the house. There's also been a mockingbird flying around the halls of the White House. Proud owner President Jefferson. President John Q. Adams also had an alligator in the White House, but at least that one was contained in one of the bathrooms. Number 8. Air Force One. The famous airplane Air Force One is actually not one plane. It is simply the traffic control call sign for a plane carrying the president. Currently, there are 2 identical, highly modified versions of the president's plane, and it's quite common that they use both planes when they travel with the president so that potential attackers won't know which plane contains the president. The plane carrying the vice president is known as Air Force Two. Since 1958, all Air Force Ones have been huge Boeings, and it looks like the future will look the same, as the Air Force announced in 2015 that the Boeing 747-8 will be the next presidential aircraft. Oh, and of course it comes with its own operating room, own defense system against missiles, a body that can withstand a nuclear explosion on the ground, and armored windows. Nothing fancy. Number 7. The White House hauntings. The White House is believed to be haunted by ghosts. Both Abraham Lincoln and his son Willie are said to be haunting Lincoln's old bedroom. When Winston Churchill visited the White House, he stayed in the Lincoln bedroom. He saw the ghosts and said that he would never return to the White House again. He did return, but he refused to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom again. Thomas Jefferson is said to play violin at the Oval Office. William Henry Harrison, the first president who died here, is believed to have accommodated himself up in the White House attic. And there's even also been sightings of an unknown dead British soldier who walks the garden with a torch. Number 6. Secret tunnels. The White House tunnel system has been a well-kept secret, stretching over several states. Everything hasn't been revealed, but since President Obama took over as president, more parts of the White House tunnel system and bunkers have been outed to the public. One of the more famous bunkers is the Presidential Emergency Operations Center. In the event of an emergency, the president travels down 6 stories beneath the White House, in an elevator located behind multiple vault-like doors with biometric access systems. The tunnels connect the White House by metro to the Eisenhower Executive Office Building next door, the new Executive Office Building, a bunker under the Naval Observatory, the bunker under the Blair House, the State Department, Pentagon, the US Capitol, and to numerous other federal buildings in between. Plans are to extend the White House tunnel so that the president can also stop by the CIA, Mount Weather, and Camp David if he wants to without setting a foot outside. All tunnel pictures of the tunnels with the metro station only exist on the White House website, so I have to go with some different ones. Number 5. Indoor pool. The White House used to have an indoor pool in addition to the outside pool. President Franklin D. Roosevelt had a pool built inside the White House. He needed it for therapy as he suffered from polio. The pool was located between the main White House and the West Wing. The pool does, however, not exist today, as President Nixon covered it up and made the room into a press briefing room. President Nixon also removed the special shower. Could we assume that he might have been afraid of water, or was he just a party pooper? All pool pictures of the actual pool only exist on the White House website. Number 4. Security. Great parts of the security features are a secret because of security reasons. However, we do know that the fence surrounding the White House is about 2 meters tall, and there are plans to make it even higher. Secret Service men and women protect the grounds, ready to move in on someone getting too close. Police patrols outside of the fence around the clock, and is in direct contact with the Secret Service. The White House has its own restricted airspace, armed snipers on top of surrounding buildings, and most likely a ton of sensors and detectors around it. The windows are bulletproof and have an anti-bugging system. No eavesdropping allowed. Of course, as we mentioned before, there are secret tunnels where the president can hide in case of an attack. With all this security, both known and unknown, you might think it's impossible to get in. It's actually not. There has been quite a few security breaches through the years, from not so uncommon fence jumpers to a helicopter landing on the White House lawn. If you ever feel the need to break in, keep in mind though that the Secret Service carries semi-automatic pistols, shotguns, and machine guns, and the snipers can hit their target spot on from 1,000 yards. That's 1 kilometer away. You know what? Just stay on the safe side of the fence. Number 3. Condemned. The White House was almost condemned at one point since it was in such a poor state. In 1948, President Harry S. Truman and his family and staff were forced to live across the street from the White House for more than 3 years, as the White House was deemed unsafe to live in. This was shortly after the Truman balcony was completed. A piano almost went through the floor, revealing that the floorboards were rotten. The ceiling had dropped 46 centimeters, or 18 inches. The walls were caving in, and not too long after, investigators found that the whole house would collapse unless something was done. A massive renovation started, and the whole White House was stripped of its interior. Even though the work wasn't completely done, the first family could move in again in 1952, as the White House was considered safe to live in again, and President Truman got to enjoy his balcony. Number 2. It's been on fire twice. The White House has been on fire 2 times. The first time was when the United Kingdom, or UK, attacked Washington, D.C. during the War of 1812. The British set the White House on fire, even adding fuel to it to ensure that it would keep on burning. The attack on Washington, D.C. only lasted about 1 day, as a giant thunderstorm hit the city, making the British leave and head for their boats. The White House was saved, reconstructed, and could be moved into a few years later again. The second time was an electrical fire that broke broke out in the West Wing, causing mostly smoke and water damage to the building and its interior. However, at the time, the White House didn't even have insurance. Whoops. So they had to bow down to Congress and get money from them in order to make repairs. Make sure you check your insurance papers now, guys. Number 1. The House. James Hobart, an Irish architect, was the one who drew the original White House that was finished in the 1780s. It's made out of sandstone, quarried by the slaves. The cost, $232,372. Nowadays, though, it's estimated to be worth around $320 million. Talk about value increase. Its location was chosen by George Washington, the first ever president, but he actually never lived in it. He died before the federal government moved from Philadelphia to Washington. He is the only president who's never lived in the White House. Theodore Roosevelt was the president who officially gave the White House its name. Before it was called the White House, it was simply referred to as the presidential residence, or the executive mansion. It has been remodeled several times, adding structures and additional rooms. Each president also gets to choose which interior should be in the Oval Office, from the carpet to the curtains. The current White House has 132 rooms, 35 bathrooms, and 6 floors. It includes a pool, a tennis court, a bowling alley, a small cinema room, a game room, a flower shop, a carpenter shop, a golf practice green, a gym, and a jogging track. Follow this up with your own personal dentist, a medical team, and your own beekeeper in case you want to make your own honey, and a kitchen staff so large they can feed up to 1,000 guests at once. Seriously, I would never leave. Well, except for the ghosts. Maybe I'd leave, actually.
Subscribe for more.